first part in terms of consumer benefit that GB Energy, by investing in these projects, should bring lower bills for everyone. I think there should be even lower bills for us here, because we'll be producing a lot of the power here, and we have some of the highest fuel poverty figures here as well. And there's obviously going to be the kind of massive warm homes conversion, as Mona talked about. Most people use heating oil here. It's encouraging when I was going around during the campaign, actually, that there's quite a lot of like heat pumps, and people are moving across. And I asked everybody how they worked, because some people are skeptical about whether they work or not. Most people seemed happy with them. Okay. And the question David raised about all this energy we're going to produce or potentially produce onshore and offshore in West Isles has to go down a cable, an interconnector, this big cable, and it already appears full. Yeah. It already appears full with commercial operators, and with each commercial operator that comes along, they appear to get space ahead of community projects which have been in the making for quite a while. So communities are up against this first come, first served mentality, which I think has to change at the highest level, either by regulation or legislation. Communities have to be given the chance, the opportunity to get on, but they also need help to get on, because if you're a oil multinational or a mining multinational setting up a wind farm company, you have the legal expertise, you have the technical expertise, you have the boffins to help you. Here you have, retired accountants and volunteers, much like the people who run the Point Show are also people who could potentially run the wind farm. So you're relying on people who often have expertise in some areas, but not in all. And so they need professional backup to get on. They need professional legal advice. That's why GB Energy needs a community energy unit, I'd say. When the Labour government came in '97, the Scotland Office set up a community land unit to help communities, give them the expertise and legal backup and technical backup to buy the land for themselves. Highly successful. We need to do the same thing.
Where should it be? Where should that bit of the GB
Well, of course, I'd want it, in Sordal,
Good answer. There's expertise there
but
too.
Actually, you had Angus Macdonald on last week who wanted it in Mallig, and Geoff laughed at him because he wanted it in Aberdein, as you would imagine. And actually, where the nameplate isn't as important as what it does. Sure. So long as it does the job and puts communities first, and as David argued there, allows communities to get onto the grid, it's vital that they do, then it doesn't.
But you know what puts community first? Is jobs, job opportunities, future career opportunities. That's what really puts community first. And I think, let's reflect on the facts here. Since the first oil in the United Kingdom continental shelf, there's been 200,000 million, 20 billion pounds, not adjusted for inflation, flowed into the exchequer in London. So your point about a sovereign wealth fund is well made. If only Margaret Thatcher had seen the opportunity, we would be all dancing to a gold-livered party. We weren't. We haven't. Right? We now have this new opportunity. But there's one thing we're missing. Who's going to pay for this? The Labour Party have already said throughout the campaign that they're reducing their expenditure on green prosperity. They're bringing green prosperity significantly. Billions of pounds. They can't, because they're looking at the fiscal position very difficult as it is. We know that some of our oil and gas companies have bought the biggest ScotWind licenses, and yet they don't feel comfortable to invest because of the exorbitant tax rates they're faced and some of the rhetoric coming from your Labour colleagues. One stat,
like exorbitant tax rates.
No, but one stat to leave you with. This year, in the Office for National Statistics, they showed that in 2023, our rate of imports of oil and gas increased to 40% because nobody was investing in the UK continental shelf. Imports. We get no economic benefit from imports. No jobs, no skills, no balance of payments benefit. But let me just finish this point, because it's really, really important. You might think they're buggers and all the rest of it, and these horrible oil and gas giants, they've got money. They've got a hell of a lot of money. Bring them on the journey with you. We already know they want to invest in offshore wind, so say to them, as part of GB Energy, we don't have the money for GB Energy, you do. So I tell you what, guys, this offshore wind project's 10, 15 years away from, we haven't even started, there's not 1 gram of steel of offshore wind in the North Sea or indeed in the Atlantic right now. or the Irish Sea.
Well,
So my point is this: bring them on the journey with you. They've got the expertise. You just said it yourself.
Yeah.
So say to them, if you invest in renewables, right, we will incentivize your proposition so you can fund this bloody transition and not have the taxpayer paying it. That'll be better for communities. That'll be better for every constituency across the country.
Yeah, I agree with much of that, but you know as well as I do that lack of investment, that withdrawal of investment, didn't happen because of the prospect of a Labour government. It happened because of the chaos
But it
of a
wasn't
Conservative
helped, though,
government.
It wasn't help. I agree with you on the
And,
Tories, but it
Prime
wasn't
Ministers
help.
that lasted 45 days and brought in
wasn't help.
ridiculous budgets. Serious money, serious investment was held back from the UK 3-4 years ago, when people saw Boris Johnson coming down the track.
And it's not coming
And
down
what
the
Labour
route.
has had to do in opposition is try and assure these investors that it will provide stability, that it will provide economic growth, and will give them a platform investment. And of course it can't be done without
They're not reassured at all.
without the investment of multinational companies.
A couple of quick closing thoughts on energy.
Yeah, I think we're going to get this wrong if we start looking at it as a sort of multinational versus community thing.
It needs everyone.
We need multinationals, we need their people, we need their profits. I wouldn't have massive windfall taxes. I would, just as Geoff said, I would say to them, we're not going to tax you, but we're going to say you've got to put a certain percentage into renewable development, right? That's a perfectly obvious thing to do. The problem here is not caused by the multinationals. They're playing by the rules that are put in front of them. That's what they do. There's nothing wrong with that. And they have critical expertise. The problem is caused by the frameworks that are put in place by both governments. And I don't think, Torkel, I'm afraid, I don't think any of the Labour rhetoric ahead of the election at all helped this industry. At all, not one bit. So I do think we need to stop looking at it in terms of these siloed or community good, multinational bad. It doesn't work like that. There's room for everybody to participate in this. We just need a better framework to make sure they can.
And Murdo, just to conclude.
Yeah, I think what I pick up about that is with the oil and gas companies, the one thing that they've got is options, international options. If they don't like the kind of environment and the view it has been uninvestable, they'll move their capital elsewhere. I think the one thing I would say, just going back to my own thoughts around the energy transition, when that started in earnest, I think really the first conversations I really heard in anger in 2019. And I think the one thing that slightly concerns me is the pace of the transition. We know it needs to go fast for the obvious reasons. The thing that would worry me about that is it goes so fast that it leaves the supply chain behind. And what they can't cope with goes abroad to get done. And I think that would be a real mistake. So there's got to be something in there. I don't know how that works. I don't know who would do that, but there's something that would be a massive opportunity that we'll miss here.
Yeah.
I share that concern too,
Okay.
that the Labour government may repeat the mistake of the SNP, Scottish government, and chase targets too quickly, and not leave the supply chain behind, but leave communities behind.
Really interesting.
Thank you so much for watching. Press subscribe and you'll get all the best videos offering insight on Scottish politics delivered straight to your feed. Press subscribe and stick around. And if you'd like to hear our conversations in full, open up your podcast app and search for Holyrood Sources.